We're here at the Victoria Fine Arts Center, and I'm interviewing the Victoria Symphony Orchestra's Concertmaster, Steve McMillan. We're going to ask a few questions about him. We'll get to know all about his life. Steve, welcome.
Thank you.
Glad to have you here. So let's start out. I'm sure that all of our patrons here want to know something about you presently. Like, they know you come here, they know you're a concertmaster, and you play with the orchestra. But beyond that, once you're gone, they don't know anything about your life. So maybe you could fill us in.
Perhaps mostly more of the same. For instance, I will leave Victoria after the reception following this performance. I'll go to Galveston, where I have another orchestra performance of Mahler's First Symphony, Liszt's Lay Prelude, and Debussy Nocturnes. So one concert after another sometimes.
Right. So you play in other orchestras? And beyond that, what? Are you just an orchestra musician, or are there other things that you do?
Oh, hardly. I teach a good number of students, probably somewhere between 15 and 20 hours a week goes into teaching private students.
Right.
I also, some time back, I invented a product for the violin which facilitates holding the violin more comfortably on the shoulder. So I have to pay attention to seeing that that's manufactured and advertised, and that orders are fulfilled. So
right,
a little of everything.
Right. So, and I understand you also are in a chamber music group that you began. You started.
That's right. The White Oak Trio. As a matter of fact, we'll be giving a recital here in Victoria, February the 19th, and that takes up at least, I would say, 6 to 10 hours a week also of regular practice time and rehearsals. We're also making a studio recording for professional release. We've recorded a number of performances that are unedited live performances of high quality, but now we're delving into the process of being in the studio and going over everything with a fine-tooth comb.
I see, right. So orchestra, chamber music, lessons, inventor. Are all your work endeavors musically related, or do you do some things that are not musically related?
Almost everything comes back to the music.
Well, you know, in the orchestra, we do have some players that have professions unrelated to music that they are in, whether it be if they're photographers or they happen to be, you know, lawyers on the side or whatever it happens to be. But we do have some that are not musical, and besides playing, say, in an orchestra once in a while. But
I mean, in a way, the manufacturing a product is a non-musical, but again, it's for my field.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Somehow it's all connected.
Absolutely.
It allows me to engage in my obsession with the violin.
I see. So you live in Houston,
Right.
and can you tell us a little bit about your past history? I mean, you're here in Houston. Are you a native Texan, or how did you find your way into Texas? If not, maybe a little bit about your schooling background, and maybe a little further back to how you even got started with the violin.
I'm a very native Texan. I began studying music. I grew up in Corpus Christi, Texas. I began studying music on the piano when I was about 6 years old, as just part of a traditional education for kids of my generation. That's one of the things that was done. I actually became pretty good at it. Studied the piano for about 8 years before I became sort of fascinated with orchestra music, and as a result of attending concerts, just like the Victoria Symphony Orchestra concerts. I traveled to San Antonio to hear the Metropolitan Opera regularly when they would bring their touring company, and just became fascinated with the idea of the orchestra and what was going on. And another little incident that occurred we used to go frequently to San Antonio, and in the lobby of this grand hotel called the St. Anthony, they had regularly playing there a piano quartet in the lobby, playing chamber music in the evenings. And I spent many evenings just hanging around those musicians there. And somehow it all added up to, I'm going to play the violin. So at about age almost 13, I think, I learned that there was a string orchestra program at my school. I decided I was going to enroll in that and immediately sought out a teacher on the violin, thinking, of course, that the playing mostly one note at a time on the violin would be child's play compared to studying the piano. Boy, was I wrong. It's really quite an intricate instrument, and it is not for quitters.
Uh-huh. So where did you go to study the violin then?
I studied privately in Corpus Christi, began with a recommended teacher, and quickly progressed because I already had a number of musical skills under my belt as far as how to practice harmony, rhythm, etc.
From piano?
From the piano. And so translating that into the muscle training necessary for the violin was the real challenge. So I made rapid progress, but it was still quite challenging. Within about 4 years, I think I auditioned for and was accepted in the all-state orchestra. Did that through high school and continued to study with the concertmaster of the Corpus Christi Symphony, a woman named Donna Cole, quite a strong musician herself and soloist. And from there, just became more and more fascinated with the field. Eventually, I was able to audition for Rice University's Shepherd School of Music, and I was accepted in their program as a violin major. Went on to get a bachelor's and a master's degree there. And almost as soon, I would say even before I graduated, I had begun working with the Houston Symphony. And Houston has always, for me, been just a very good place to continue working and continuing to progress. I also, something very fortunate happened to me. In addition to being in the classical arts and playing chamber music all along, there's a Broadway series there called Theater Under the Stars, or TUTS for short. They abbreviate it. And at that particular time, TUTS was producing all of the great Broadway shows and some innovative new shows. And just because of the timing after my graduation and moving into a professional life as a violinist, I was able to play for them at least 20 performances of each of all of the great Broadway shows, and to work with a lot of celebrities who were on the stage in those shows. So it was a fascinating education also.
Wow. Well, it seems like your life started in music and was filled with music, and today it's still filled with music. So that's wonderful. But now, what about something in your life that's non-musical? We've had several of our players in some of our other Spotlight series who have talked about some of the things that they do outside of music. You know, some of them have other kinds of hobbies, be it photography or maybe some they dabble in the stock market. I don't know, whatever it is. But I mean, something on the side. What do you do when you're not doing music? What do you like to do when you're not doing music? And you're not allowed to say that I love music so much I don't do anything else.
Well, I can't say I don't do anything else. I'm very good at eating. And I actually can cook too. And when I have time, I pay a good deal of attention to that.
Ah, I see. So you like you
I
like
like
to
it
cook.
delicious.
Uh-huh. So you like to cook on the side, or,
do.
anything else?
Um,
And
Gosh, you got me there.
Gotcha.
I recently saw an interview with pianist Abby Simon,
Mm-hmm.
who is one of the most recorded classical artists of all time. And he talked about that very thing and said that he would continue because he's at that age when some musicians decide to quit. And he's still going strong at 84 or something. And he said, oh, I'll never quit. As long as I can drag myself to the piano bench, I'll continue to give recitals. And here's what he said, I just don't know what else I would do. I'm a very narrow person in that way.
So you bring this up by saying that this is your answer to this question?
Well, it's really all-consuming for me. There are another number of other, I would say, good deed projects that I'm involved in, fundraising for a number of charitable organizations and such. Again, things keep centering around music. The Galveston Symphony is going to be in a music director search soon, and actually my name came up as a potential candidate. So I'm weighing the possibility that I might be guest conducting the Galveston Symphony next
The very
season.
orchestra that you're in.
Yes, indeed. And that's really a kind of a traditional ascension, I think, in the old days in the orchestra world.
Right.
For someone from the inside of the group to move up.
Right.
In
the older days, the first violinist, the concertmaster, or as they were called, the leader, as they're called in England, they're called the leader, not concertmaster. They actually did. They were the de facto conductors, conducting while they played. It started that way, until music got so complicated that it couldn't be done by somebody who played and also do both. I mean, some pieces it's not possible to do that, but it started out that way. So
Very much.
I see. Well, it sounds all very interesting, and I'm sure that all of our patrons are really glad to know a lot of things about you, and now they'll know about your various musical endeavors, and if they come across the White Oak Trio, they'll know that that is you, and if they happen to be in the Galveston area, they'll know that they can see you there, and of course they can continue to come to the concerts here in Victoria, as you are our concertmaster here in Victoria. So, well, thank you, Steve, for being a part of this, and I know that our patrons will really have a wonderful time getting to know you a little bit more personally, and I think it's a good thing for them to know us and for us to know them. So thank you very much.
It's always been a pleasure.